All right, we figured it out. It was really, really complicated to get this working. I don't know why. Anyway, oh yeah, I have to do the intro. Yeah, hey nerds, welcome to Back Alley Alchemist. I have a guest. That's Holly.
Yay!
She does tarot. Introduce yourself for the
Oh,
strangers on the internet.
yes, I'm Holly. I have been doing tarot since I was a child. Um, Jessica and I are witchy by nature,
Yes.
and I started doing tarot professionally as Morning Orange Tarot about 2 years ago. And about 6 months ago, I got my website up, so I'm extra official now, and you can book with me, and I do events in town and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So if you want to hear things about yourself that you've been refusing to acknowledge via cards, she's the person to go to.
Yes, positive but honest.
Yes.
That's my brand.
Yeah. Every time I do a reading for myself, it's always very rude. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I knew that, but you didn't have to say it, you know?
Yeah,
Calling me out.
yeah. I can't do readings for myself. I haven't mastered it yet because I'm too biased. And so I go, oh, that couldn't possibly be it. And I just reach up and reach up. I'm like, well, it could be that either. I'm like, oh, I can read anybody else any day. But I have to get my own readings because it's hard to be honest with yourself.
That's fair. It's like, no, the cards are wrong. It's the wrong cards. I must have done
Yeah, I was
something
like, oh,
weird to
that could
pick
have been
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
That ain't right. We'll try that again. Over and over. God damn it. Okay.
Yep.
Basically, we don't have a proper agenda of what we're talking about. We're just going to talk about spooky stuff, and you guys get to listen, essentially. So, and you can watch me
Yeah.
scratch my ass if you are on the
Real.
YouTube.
So something I wanted to talk about is my video on TikTok that has gotten the most traction has been the one about the blue light specials.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah,
I've asked people before if they ever did anything like that, and everyone's always like, no, what? They're like, oh no, Blue Light
yeah,
Special. Child of the Blu-ray Day. Do we have
yeah,
to?
exactly. Yeah, and so I follow on. I didn't remember her Instagram handle because I didn't think I was going to mention it, but I follow this uh, Reiki energy healer on Instagram, and she'll have like crystals, and she'll have the correct lighting to match the crystal, and she'll just be like moving them around and like doing that and talking to you and like giving you energy and healing you. And one of them was all based around blue. And I said, "Oh, did you do the blue light specials as a kid too?" And we did this and this and this, and um, I was explaining to her how Granny would get the blue light bulbs and replace all the light bulbs, and she would put the blue food coloring in the water, and so we would have blue lemon water, and then we would all wear blue, and we had to eat dinner together, like bathing in the blue light. And she asked me, "Where did you learn about that, if you don't mind me asking?" And I have no idea
I
where
don't.
she got that.
I don't know. I know Granny got into a bunch of like weird new agey stuff at some point, and like a conglomeration of various different like Eastern beliefs and like neo-pagan new age awakening movement. I think she just like pushed a bunch of stuff together.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. Yeah, between going to India to see Sri Satya Sai Baba
Yeah.
and owning her metaphysical bookshop, I think she may have just made it up. Because I actually Googled "Child of the Blu-ray Day" and literally nothing came up. It was two unrelated Google searches, and then it said, "We cannot find your search."
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think maybe you've heard of like the Indigo Child thing, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you think it might be similar to that, or
it
like
might be.
because indigo is a shade of blue, isn't
It is.
it?
It's like isn't it like a purpley bluish green? It's like a combo of the three.
Yeah, it's like a weird darker blue.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've been able to find, even related to Child of the Blue Ray, is just like Indigo Children, which is
Yeah.
really different from that. Because the blue light is like a healing thing. Not like the white light,
Exactly.
that's definitely healing, but like the blue light was a whole, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. It was extra healing. It's like if there's anything that ails you, it's going to be healed that night.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Where the white light's more like energy and protection.
Yeah. Or like, yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, like when someone else, like a Christian, would say, oh, thoughts and prayers, they're sending their prayers to the person in the hospital. It's like, put them in the white light. It's the same
Exactly.
thing.
Put them in the white light.
Yeah.
Yep. Still do it. Anytime I get too spooked, I imagine my entire house covered in the white light. Like, nothing could get me now.
Right? How could it? There's white light everywhere. Nowhere for it to hide.
Yeah.
There's this fucking... I know, I told the ghost that if it let my video camera work, that I wouldn't talk about it. But now I'm mad at it for giving me so much shit in the first place. So, the house, I haven't told any of my followers or anything, but this freaking house has a ghost in it. And I've had so few spooky experiences in the last like 10 years. And all of them I can kind of rationalize and make sense of. Usually it's like, well, I did see something weird, but I also had only slept 2 hours the previous night. So my brain was probably being funky. And stuff like that. But this son of a bitch, middle of the day. It was 4:20 yesterday? The day before yesterday. 4:20, sun shining through this window on me. It just stomped. It like threw a fit right next to me, woke Corn up from a dead sleep. Corn bolted to the other room, and I'm like, excuse me? And then chills down my entire body, and I was like, what? It's 4:20? Do you want to blaze it? Like, what do you do? You're fucking with me. I'm sick of you. Quit it. And it just like caused an entire ruckus and like shook Maddie's desk while I was sitting here, and I just felt freezing cold, all of the hair sticking up on my body, and I was like, I don't know who you think you are, sir, but I was watching the news. You interrupted me.
That's wild.
Doesn't give a shit what time of day it is. That's what like helps like confirm to me that it is an actual spiritual entity. Because if it only happened at night or whatever, then that would fit too well with like stereotypes and what a basic bitch would think about a ghost. Like, oh, at night it's scary, but they don't like light. But that's not true at all. It's existing the whole time. It's not like it sleeps. So the fact that it happens then, when I'm well rested in the middle of the day, I'm like, I can't be imagining that. I would imagine it differently if it was my imagination.
Yeah. I love that poem you wrote too, because it said, what if I was the ghost? And I was imagining you like knocking that picture frame off and then running up to Maddie and being like, look, it was the ghost.
Yeah.
I was laughing and laughing. Obviously you saw it too. You both experienced it, but you know, what if I was the ghost? Oh my God, I had me laughing.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it inspired some decent poetry out of me, I guess. God. A friend of mine, she is even, like, witchier than us. Like, bitch be powerful. She's gonna come over soon and help me try to figure out why nothing has worked for this guy. I've been talking to the ghost, and, you know, there's no reason, like, it can't be pleasant to be tied here and pissed off all the time. So it would be better for the ghost and in the ghost's own interests if we could untether it and let it go do its thing instead of having it trapped here throwing a fit, you know? No one wants it.
Yep.
No one wants it. It's good for everyone.
Yep, exactly. Just go do something else better than be stuck in the house all day. Like, come on, bruh.
Right? This is
Yeah.
here all the time. I will go and sit in the dirt for a couple hours here and there just so I get some fresh air. Ghost can't do that. It's trapped.
Exactly.
It can't
Exactly.
even soak up a ray.
Yeah. Something else I was thinking about recently is just synchronicities in general.
Wow.
I have a friend who approached me at a concert, and she was saying that she had really been noticing a lot of synchronicities in her life happening, and she had been making a point to write each one of them down. Like she'll have a dream about somebody and then see them the next day, and it's not somebody she sees every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she was asking me about that, and she was asking me, how do I get in touch with my psychic abilities? How do I be more psychic? How do I really embrace like my gift? And I said, that's it. I said, you're literally doing it. I said, that's it. That's about all it is just noticing when you have those synchronicities and paying attention to them, acknowledging them, and then expecting them to continue to come. Because when you're expecting it and your eyes are open to it, that's when the magic happens. And that's when you get taken to kind of wherever you need to be in life to be able to continue harnessing those powers.
Yeah.
And so I was recommending the Celestine Prophecy to her because she hadn't read it yet, because it's all about synchronicities and energies. And it just reminded me of when you and I were kids and we would walk around and we would like follow the crows
Yeah.
because
Still
we
do
were
that.
like, oh, those crows, I bet they're going to lead us somewhere. And then they would.
We'd find like the coolest little spots of like forest patch, or
Yeah.
I feel like we found free food one time.
Oh, we did find free food.
Yeah, we ended up at the school or whatever, and they had that truck with the lunch in it.
Yeah, they did. And we were so poor we weren't going to get to eat anything. So then we were able to go there every day for lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we found that on accident because we were just wandering around being like, huh, the wind's blowing that way, let's go over there. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Uncrustables all day.
Yes. That's true.
'Cause I don't think our parents knew about the free lunch thing, did they?
No, they didn't know about it. We literally would just wake up and they would be gone to work already, and we would just walk over there. I remember a couple times we slept in and we missed it, and that was a bummer.
Yeah.
But we tried to make it. We tried to make it every time. Yeah, I don't think they knew about it. I was talking to my therapist about when we were kids and how we weren't really supervised. We were literally just like 9 years old walking around town,
We had
however
our
we wanted
Chongo
to.
sticks. I don't know if that's a slur. We had our big sticks for beating people off, and that was it.
Yeah, that's what I told her. I said my dad would say, "Oh yeah, you can go anywhere. Just bring a big stick
Yeah.
in case you need to beat somebody."
Yeah.
Yeah,
They can't get you into their van if you've got a big stick, you know?
and it's true. One time a van pulled up and we saw them, and I told my therapist, I said, "Oh man," I said, "we were so fast back then."
Right.
I said we just freaking ran as fast as we could.
Oh, and the ham hobo,
Yeah,
the bologna bomb,
the baloney
the
bomb.
mayo man. Oh god, we had so many different names for him. When we went into the Shannon Slough, which was, for anyone listening, there was this little patch, it was like half a block in town that was like dedicated as a park to some kid who died. And so there were like bushes and trees and a little walkway out there, and it wasn't very far from her dad's place when we were kids, and we would go there all the time and sit there and commune with nature. And one time we went in, and there was just a dude just sitting there eating a sandwich. We were like 9
We were
years
shook.
old. It was horrifying. We ran really, really fast.
He chased us on his bike.
He did follow us. That was weird. And then
I was thinking, wouldn't he just continue sitting there eating? Oh no.
yeah. I don't know what. A couple of random ass little girls walk up while I'm eating a sandwich and then they run away. I'm gonna be like, that was weird.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get on my bike. Did he even finish his sandwich?
That's what I was wondering the whole time we were running. I was thinking, what did he do with this sandwich?
Oh god.
What a waste. We were too poor to be wasting that.
I'm worried about the food.
Exactly.
We ended up running to the school nearby. It was probably like 6 or 7 blocks.
So I was thinking.
We ran all the way there, to the playground, and then we just like tried to hide in plain sight, I guess. And I swear he came, and he followed us the whole way there, rode by on his bike, and we were just like, I don't know what to do right now. Swing harder.
Yeah. Yeah, we were on the tire swing, and we were going around, and we were like, if we spin fast enough, you won't be able to see who we are. Because, we were like 9, so that was logic.
It made sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, what was he doing? Aberdeen's a weird place.
Very weird.
There was another
Especially
time.
South Aberdeen.
Yeah, it was in Causey. I was about 14, and I got mad at Jill about something, so I was like, I'm gonna go for a walk. And I was walking on the main road, and I got to not quite the Lions Club in Causey, and a truck pulls up, a beaten up old pickup truck, and the guy yells at me, "Hey baby, you want a ride?" And I just booked it. I ran so fast, and then I hid in the carport behind fucking Max's house.
Oh yeah.
I think for some reason I didn't go to Granny's. Maybe I was mad at her at the time. But Max lived directly across the street, and I was like, I can hide in his carport. And I just kind of like sat there, and it started raining, and I was like, I'm not going out. I live here now.
Yep, this is it.
If anyone finds me in this carport, it's going to be very awkward, but at least I'm not kidnapped.
The final resting place.
Yeah. 14 years old. It's weird that people would do that. I mean, obviously, people are gross.
It's like you look 14 when you're 14.
Yeah. People look 14 when they're 23 to me now.
Yes, me too. Exactly.
If they aren't about my age or significantly older than me, they look like they're 12.
Yeah.
God. Alright, let me think. Oh yeah, we were talking about synchronicities. That's what led us to the ham hobo
and the Celestine
child
prophecy.
Abduction. Yeah.
Yeah. In essence, our childhood.
Yes. And the Celestine prophecy is amazing. I think it was written by James Redfield.
Yep.
And, if anyone listening likes that sort of thing, the entire thing is about how this guy learns to pay attention to what goes on around him and notice these little synchronicities, these, I think he uses the word coincidence, but ironically, because nothing is a coincidence. And he follows them, and it leads him through a series of trials and tribulations, essentially, and where at the end he feels like more powerful and connected with the universe. And there's a whole series. There's Celestine Prophecy, The 10th Insight, The Secret of Shambhala, and I think another one. I did have them all. I always see... I saw The 10th Insight at the Goodwill here the other day.
Really?
I almost shit myself. But I didn't want to get the 10th Insight if I didn't have the first one.
I have the first one. I need to reread it. I always leave it in my car so I can read it on my lunch break, and then I get through like the first 3 or 4 pages, and I just remember so much of it that then I think, oh, that's so great, and then I completely forget about it.
I do that with some books. Books that I've read like 3 or 4 times, but they're my favorite, so I keep them, and I'm always like, ooh, I want to read this book. That sounds fun to me. But then I start reading it, and I'm like, I remember all this. It's not interesting anymore. And there's no surprises now.
Right, exactly. I think my favorite part of that, too, and it's something that I want to master with the Celestine Prophecy, is being able to actually physically see people's energy. So they talk about, there's like a scene in the book where he's having like romantic thoughts about one of the other characters in the book. And one of his teachers is there. And the teacher noticed that he was distracted. And then teaches the main guy that, oh, I can actually see your energy. And I can see that you're thinking romantically about this person because the color of your energy is actually red.
I remember that.
And I think about that often because it just, you can feel when somebody's giving energy at you. But I wonder if there are really people who can see it. I bet there are, like auras too. That's
Yeah.
different energy.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to master.
I know. I could definitely feel it if someone is mad. I can like
Oh, for
feel
sure.
the heat inside of me, even if they're completely covering it up and not showing any visible signs of anger. I get this burst of like electricity going up into my gut, and I'm like, ooh, they're pissed. I'm in danger.
Wow.
That's why people who do a lot of meth are scary. Because you'll just be sitting there talking, and then suddenly, I'm in. Later.
Yeah, it's true.
But
Their moods are just all over the place.
I would have been crazy moited so many times if I didn't have the ability to feel that when their mood shifted like that. So I could actually get myself out and away from the danger. I can't imagine if some people can't tell that way. Like, can you imagine wondering if someone's mad at you because you can't feel it? That must be horrible.
I can always feel it. That's amazing.
I wonder
Especially with the people I'm around frequently, like coworkers and stuff.
Yeah.
I just walk up to them and I say, "What's wrong?"
Yeah.
You can tell.
I can kind of... Anger is the easiest one for me to feel. I can... When people are sad, usually it's too apparent for me to know whether or not I'm feeling it. I can just kind of tell by looking at them. Because they're making a face. Or their tone of voice is a little bit lower than normal or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if I can feel when people are sad. There are too many other obvious signs of it.
Yeah.
I can't tell when people are horny either.
No, that's a tough one.
They gotta tell me.
Yeah.
I'm going around. I'm hungry. Inappropriate.
Love it.
Let me think. Had any cool dreams? I can tell you more about my horrifying dream, but you go first.
Cool dreams every night. So the other night, well, I mean, these ones weren't like psychic dreams or anything. They were just fun. The other night, and I made a TikTok video about this, I had a dream about Frank Zappa's song, The Muffin Man.
Oh my god. That's a dream come true. To have a dream about the Muffin Man.
Come true. Yes. And so in the dream, I was just doing normal dream stuff, right? I was like probably running from something, or I was like trying to like organize something, or put something. I was just doing dream stuff. But in my mind, in Dream Me's mind, I was thinking sterile canvas snoot. And I was thinking, sterile canvas snoot? Is that really how Frank Zappa describes his icing anointment utensil in The Muffin Man? As a sterile canvas snoot? And I thought to myself, and I said in my dream mind, my dream self said to myself in my mind, I don't think I've ever paid attention to this song in real life enough to where I would have that memorized. And I haven't listened to that song in probably 6 months. Sure, I've listened to it a lot, but there are some songs I've memorized. Like I've memorized Evelyn the Modified Dog, but I have not memorized the monologue to The Muffin Man. And so I thought, sterile canvas snoot. I said, okay, let's break this down. And Dream Me was saying, let's break this down. I was thinking, sterile, that makes sense, like sterile.
It's clean.
And of course he would say sterile because that really fits the mood of the song. Like, of course you're going to say it like that.
Yeah.
And then I said canvas. I said, well, those are usually plastic. So with the canvas, he's referring to a piping bag that holds icing to decorate a cupcake, right?
Okay.
And so canvas, so maybe back in the day they used to be canvas.
Maybe.
And then I was thinking snoot, like a snout, like a dog snout.
Snoot.
So it looks like a dog's snout. It's sterile and it's canvas. And that's how he's describing his icing anointment utensil. And so I woke up, and the first thing I did is I looked over at Seth and I said, sterile canvas snoot. And so, of course, Seth is used to this by now. And I said, is that really how Frank Zappa described his icing anointment utensil in the Muffin Man? I said, only one way to find out. So I got on Spotify and I turned it on and I put it on my head because I was still laying there. That's true. It's true. He did. He described it as a sterile canvas snoot. That's it. That's exactly it. And so I've been thinking about this for like 2 days. I can't get the phrase out of my head.
You put it in mind now.
It's there forever.
Now I'm gonna dream about it.
And I thought maybe Frank Zappa came to me in my dream to revive the love of the Muffin Man by reciting sterile canvas snoot way too many times on the internet. I got a comment on my TikTok video that's my favorite. It says, I have no idea what's going on but sterile canvas snoot. And I said exactly.
That's all that matters.
I have no idea what's going on, but yeah. So yeah, that was my most recent. And I had a dream about a loved one who passed away a couple nights before. He came to me in a dream, and it was really sweet. It was actually Seth's grandfather passed away, and I had a dream shortly after that. I was in Hermiston High School, but it was college classes, because that's usually how I dream of my college classes, is at my old high school. And I was doing like tumbling classes, like taking a tumbling, like children's gymnastics.
That would be fun.
And yeah. And so then I went upstairs, and upstairs were like hospice beds. And because his grandpa passed away in hospice, and I saw him, and I said, Grandpa Tony, what's up? He was like, oh, how's it going? I said, well, I'm taking tumbling classes. You want to come with me? And he goes, oh, yeah, I'd love to. I've always wanted to do that.
Nice.
So then in the dream, I said, all right, let's go. So we got up, and we were going to tumbling, and we had a great time at tumbling. And then I said, oh, do you want to go down to the cafeteria and get some lunch with me? He goes, yeah. So we went down, and we had some lunch. And that was it. And it was really nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I thought it was very lovely. Yeah, and I love, and this is the distinction that I can really make between whether it's somebody visiting me versus a dream person. So I also recently had a dream that I saw my grandma Ginger in my mom's house, but I knew it wasn't her because she had no face.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and when
what's the word for it? It's not them, it's the idea of them.
Yeah.
Them as a concept.
Yeah, exactly. And when I saw Grandpa Tony, it was him. It was his face. He had a shy little smile. He looked on me with love, and we talked, and it was just a big difference. And when I visit somebody, or I feel like somebody is visiting me in a dream, I can always see their face. It's very clear. It's clear as day. This is who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times there will be a person in one of my dreams that I know is like supposed to be a person, an individual, but like their face changes or shifts, or they have the face of someone else, but I still think of them as whoever they're supposed to be.
Like it represents, it represents them.
Yeah. Nice. I have been plagued by terrors in the night. Finally, the last few nights, I haven't been having nightmares, but ever since that big nasty one I had, and I did tell Holly about it, but I'm gonna like recap. I thought I was dead in the dream, because I'm lucid in every dream that I have, at least a little bit. Like I can sit there and have thoughts independent and make decisions about myself, but I can't always necessarily manipulate my environment or control what other people do. Sometimes I can, but not always. And this was one of them where I was perfectly conscious, as if I was awake, like just going about existing. But I got trapped in this house where there were people from my past and people in my family and stuff coming up to me and giving me these like really short statements, like saying 3 or 4 words, a sentence or something, and then going and fucking off. And eventually I realized that this is important. These things that these people are saying to me are important. Who they are is important. And how I feel after they say it is important. I'm being taught something right now. And then the one that really got me was someone came up to me. It was a family member. And he looked like he did when he was 30. And he does not look like that now. But he came up and he asked me if I had an extra beer for him. And I thought to myself, well, I have like 4 beers in the fridge. I could give him one, but that's not really enough beers for me to consider it extra to give away. That's like, but then I wouldn't, because then I wouldn't have enough beer for myself. So I told him no, and he said, oh, thanks anyway. And he walked out of the door into like the pouring rain. And I was like, I'm an asshole, aren't I? I should have given him a beer. And he had to go walk in that rain. All he wanted was a walking beer. And I have 4. That's more than enough for me. I don't need... Wow. And so these feelings of guilt and stuff built up. And then at the very end, I was like thinking about all these things. And I was like, this is telling me things about myself that I don't feel good about. Like, if someone... It's telling me that if someone asked me for a beer and I had an extra beer, I need to give it to them, because if I don't, I am not honoring who I want to be. And I'm not doing the things that I want to be as a person. And so I need to act on my beliefs and my principles and act accordingly. Otherwise, when I die, I'm going to be filled with regret and I'm going to be ashamed of who I was. And then in the dream, I couldn't wake up, and I thought that I actually was dead, and it was like the trials and fucking Dante's Inferno type shit. And I couldn't wake myself up. It was horrifying. It was horrifying. And then since that night, the next night, I had a dream. What was it? About the ghost in the house. And in the dream, I woke up. So I thought I was awake because I was just in bed. Everything looked exactly how it was. And I looked over and Maddie was crying. So I asked him if he was okay, and he refused to tell me. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I heard stomping or walking around. And I was like, who's here? And then Maddie gets up to go check on who it is. I grab my gun because I'm like, if someone just broke into the house, I'm not letting Maddie go out there in his boxers alone. I have a firearm. But my gun was like taken apart and on all these weird little pieces. And I was like, I'm just going to punch the intruder to death. That's fine. And then he comes back and he's like, it wasn't anyone. And then we're like sitting there and he points at the closet, which for some reason, I know it's a stereotype, but the ghost loves to hang out in the closet in the bedroom. And he points at it and then I get chills. And then there's this big black, like, dark void entity that just comes and it presses down, and it starts like pressing down on my face and neck and choking me a little bit. And I yelled, and I woke myself up yelling. And I guess Maddie woke up when I was yelling, and he like rolled over and like laid on top of me to make me feel safe. And he said even before I yelled, he had actually woken up a little bit, and he could tell that, like, there was something wrong. So he was holding my hand, and as soon as he touched me, he got that feeling of the entity, like, pressing down on him. And
wow.
While he was holding me afterward, he felt it, but when he wasn't touching me, he didn't. And
wow.
Yeah. Spooky.
That ghost is a dick.
It doesn't like me. It threw my
really
painting off the wall.
itself to you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that really, really sucks, and I was asking for it. Oh, you paused. Okay, there we go. I was asking for it when I decided to do dream work. Like, I should have known what I was getting into. All the books that I was reading about it was like, this is actually some gnarly shit, so don't do it lightly. And I was like, I'm immortal, come on. What am I good for if I can't do this? And part of it is I use my dreams as an opening to communicate with people, go to people, have people's guides or my own guides or whatever come to me to teach me things. And I can send protection and stuff through dreams to other people. So that makes my dream space It's got like a big fucking welcome sign on it. It's like
Yeah.
it's open up for guides and past people, ancestors to come and communicate through and to me. And if something has a nefarious reason to want to fuck with me, it can just walk right in. And
Dang.
those are the only dreams that I cannot control at all. Like, I'll be conscious, but I can't control the entity that came in, because it's a separate entity, you know? I can control
Right.
even sometimes everything else about the dream. And I can control how I interact with the entity, but I can't make it do nothing. And oftentimes, it wants to choke me. And that's really rude. It's really rude.
Rude AF.
Right?
Oh my god.
Like,
Yeah.
coming up in here, acting like a bitch. God.
Maybe that's the next tattoo, is something on your neck for protection.
That's a good idea. I was actually thinking about it. I don't know what I would do, though.
You know what I haven't seen in a while that might be really cool?
Huh.
Tasmanian devil.
Oh my god.
JK. We used to see those everywhere. I never see them anymore.
That's true. I loved Taz.
Yeah.
I think I saw a bumper sticker of the cartoon character, you know, of Taz,
Yeah. Yeah.
recently. But otherwise, no. I had a shirt. I had a shirt with him on it. It was my Space Jam
Yeah, he was
shirt.
everywhere. Everybody had the tattoo. We had shirts. He was on everything.
Yeah. What happened? Are we just sleeping on Taz now?
We're sleeping on Taz.
I can't believe it. I thought we
No.
were better than this.
Yeah.
I say
Who
to the
knew?
world in general. Forget about Taz, as if.
I was thinking, though, it would be such a great business model for you if you ever wanted to go in business regularly and open up a website kind of like mine where people could book with you to do dream interpretation. Because I never see anything like that on everything that I follow about witchy stuff and about, you know, tarot readers and people who are doing Reiki and energy work. You never see dream interpreters.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I set up a Fiverr account.
Nice.
Where it's like, if you give me a detailed message describing a dream and a little bit of information about you, I can give you a general idea. Or if you wanted me to analyze a series of dreams, like if you have a recurring dream or a recurring concept and you're like, what is this? Why do I always dream about this thing? Then I could do that for a little bit more. Or people can do like a straight up Discord or Zoom call with me for like an hour and we can really dig into it. I
Love that.
I don't seem to have gotten any traction on the postings on Fiverr though. But that isn't a thing. I'll do that. You have to pay me though, otherwise it doesn't work.
Okay, and the thing is, I tell you, people have to pay you or it doesn't work. Just like people have to pay me for my readings or it doesn't work. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're putting that much energy into something and you're getting paid for it, you're truly feeling valued. And when you're feeling valued, it feels fair. And it feels like, you know, obviously I do readings for like family members and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because I want to, because I love them. But when you're getting compensated fairly, it really just like fills you of that fairness.
Yeah.
And so it gives you more energy to be able to like put into that. And it sounds so stupid because it's just money, you know, but it really does like even out your energies being like fairly compensated for what you're putting into. So
That makes sense. I was actually just talking about this with my friend of mine who was going to come help me with the ghost. She was like, I don't make the rules, it's just how it goes. If I do a cleansing for you, you have to pay me somehow. Like, feed me dinner, buy me a pack of smokes, something. For some reason, it really just doesn't work if you don't. And it's like, oh no, that's fair. I was going to feed you anyway.
it could be like what we were just talking about in the Celestine prophecy, the exchange of energies.
Yeah, that would do it. It's
Yeah.
like, if someone is putting their energy out to help you, you need to put something in, you know, for them too. I was thinking about it too. It's like, back in the olden times, medicine people, the shaman of the community, the medicine worker, they just did that. And then the rest of the community would be like, here's some food for the medicine person. We need to bring the medicine person a new mat for their floor, stuff like that. And then they would return to the community by providing, spiritual guidance and healing. And that's what they did. And then the community took care of them in exchange for, because that's the only person in the entire village who can do that, and we need that. So
Exactly.
they do that, we take care of them. Maybe it's that kind of thing too. It's like
Yeah.
spiritual work or any heebie-jeebie shit. That's our job, so you better feed me about it.
Feed me about it, exactly. I don't think people, a lot of, not everybody, of course, but I think since this kind of energy work is becoming a little bit more, not popular, but like not so stigmatized, and so it's like coming out. I think a lot of people in business don't really understand yet, or trying to be positive about this, we're learning how much energy it takes to like do a reading or to do a cleansing or to do a dream interpretation, or to do Reiki. And I'm understanding this to be true because there have been some businesses who have been so sweet in asking me to do readings at their shop. And when I tell them my rate, they like reel back and say, that's a lot more than I was expecting. And
Your sound's cutting out a little bit while you talk.
oh,
Yeah.
is that any better?
Right now, yeah. Hopefully.
Okay, we'll see. And so yeah, so they'll like reel back and be shocked at the price. And I don't think they understand that when I do a 1 hour reading with somebody, I am like drained.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably do maybe 3 in a row before I'm just like totally exhausted.
Yeah.
So when I do events, I like to do $25 for a 15-minute reading, and I can do 4 to 5 an hour, depending on how quick the read. Some of the readings go pretty quick, depending on the question and everything. But I think that while these professions are getting a little bit more popular, people are understanding that they're really worth the value. And that's something that back in the days was just widely accepted. It's like, yeah, that's the medicine guy. We're going to feed them. We're going to take care of them. We're going to make sure they're comfortable. They get their own hut. Everybody leave them alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bug them, they'll yell.
Yeah. Write songs about them, write poems about them, honor them,
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, $25, whoa.
I'm supposed to be able to live for free with this kind of skill. Come on.
Yeah.
Cough it up, nerd. Cough it up.
Yeah. But once I end up talking to people about it, they understand a little better. Especially with tarot reading, rates are average on the low end about $100 a reading.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people who actually make some pretty good income doing it regularly.
Yeah.
25 is quite reasonable, I'd say.
Yeah, totally.
Let me think. Oh yeah, I have Katie. She's a witchy bitch, and I remember I was a little bit confused for a second one time because she was reading someone's palm and I asked if she could read mine, and she's like, "You're gonna have to give me like an hour. I am exhausted after that one." And I was like, "Huh? Oh, okay, that makes sense because it takes a lot of fucking energy to sit there and read someone's soul off of the palm of their hand, It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's a good example, too.
I can't remember who got me my tarot deck. It was either you, Dolores, or Katie.
Okay.
At some birthday when I was like 19 or 20.
Oh.
And I can't for the life of me remember who got it.
Ooh. I
And I
feel like I
also,
might have gotten you cards at some point.
yeah, it was so long ago, but I can never remember who it was. It was one of the three of you. There was also somebody who gave me a four-leaf clover, and unfortunately, that four-leaf clover is now long gone from how many times I moved. But I had it probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
That seems like a Katie thing.
I think it was Katie.
Katie can find a four-leaf clover. You give her like 2 minutes on any patch of grass, and she will find a four-leaf clover somehow. I don't know what it is.
Wow.
It's like magic.
It
I
is.
used to like get drunk sometimes and be like, "Hey, Katie, is there a four-leaf clover over there?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, here it is." And I'm like, "Yeah, magic trick."
Yay!
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think it's got to be something about being able to recognize a change in a pattern. I think that's got to be the most scientific explanation for her fucking four-leaf clover radar. I don't know.
Yeah. I've
Either that
sat
or
and
just
stared at clover
magic.
patches for days and never been able to find one.
Me neither. I think I found one once. Ever. Despite literally every time I have a few extra minutes and I see a patch of clovers, I look for one. I'll sit there and
Yeah.
be like, is today the day? Is today the day? It's never the day.
That's exactly how it is.
Someday. Dude, there are so many
Yep.
clovers in this backyard. There's no grass, but there's a
Good.
whole bunch of dog shit. And there's just like, I know. I'll clean it someday. It's not my dog's shit. He's only pooped back there once. It's really old dog shit.
Really? Wow, fossilized.
Yeah, but now there's like a huge patch of thick, luscious clovers, like all the way down the side of the house. It's really exciting for me. I bet it's gonna be gorgeous in springtime.
The little clover blossoms that used to be like our snack
Yeah, sweetie pies.
when we were kids. Yep. So good.
I just said, I was talking about sweetie pies the other day, and Maddie had no idea what I was talking about. I was like, oh, this tastes like a sweetie pie. It was like a tomatillo, or tomateo, I don't know. It's like a tomato, but it's green and sour. I have to figure out how to cook it. I accidentally bought it because I thought it was Brussels sprouts. And I was like, this is the opposite of a Brussels sprout. But it tasted kind of like a sweetie pie. And I was telling him, I don't know what this is, but it tastes like a sweetie pie. Here, take a bite. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Pie? And I'm like, they're outside. It's like a clover, but you eat it. And he was like, what? I was like, I'm gonna have to feed that boy a sweetie pie.
Yep. They had the last house I lived in had them, and I ran up to my old roommate and I said, "Oh my god, you have sweetie pies in your backyard." He was like, "What?" I was like, "Sweetie pies, these giant clovers,
Yeah.
and you eat them, and it's like another way I like to describe it is like the skin of a red grape.
Yeah.
Where you bite into it and it's a little bit tart, like almost dry, but then it's like a sour juice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I'm like salivated just thinking about it. I love it. Every time I see them, I eat one, unless it's in a park because then I'm nervous that like a dog or a cat feed on it.
Yeah.
But if I see one on a trail, I will definitely like rip it.
Every time. I'm like, ooh, I get free lunch today.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so good. And I looked it up recently, and it's true. The internet also says they're delicious and that you can eat them.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I remember for some reason in my head, there was someone told me that they can cure cancer, sweetie pies. I don't know who. It was like, it's good for you, but since I was a kid, they were like, yeah, you won't get cancer if you eat these. And I'm like, what? But I was thinking about that recently as well. I was like, where did I hear that? That doesn't make... If sweetie pies cured cancer, then that would be done with already. That's not true.
Yeah.
How dare
I think
someone
there are
lie to
just
me?
like so many natural foods that you just walk down the street and we could be eating right now that have like so much nutrition that isn't like a banana or an apple,
Right.
you know, that I think probably if we did make a habit of eating those things and not like processed pre-made stuff, then I don't know about curing cancer, but we could definitely do some prevention.
Yeah. And honestly, it would be like really good for the world. We wouldn't have to have such large agricultural plots if we just realized that there's food outside right there. Like,
Yep.
especially in the Pacific Northwest, you gotta know very little about anything at all if you're gonna starve out here. Because you walk out of town and there's food everywhere.
Well, the thing is, people complain about the blackberry bushes, and I said, "Why are you complaining about those? It's free food." I
Right?
said, "It's delicious. It's good for you. You can make pies. You can make jams. I mean, literally, there's just free food abound everywhere you walk around in Washington State."
Right? It's great. There was a period of time, it was when I lived in the fifth wheel at Nick's house. And I didn't have any money or whatever, but it was springtime and then summertime. And so I would go to the woods by Hospital Hill and I just walk around and I subsisted most of my diet on shit I found in the woods. I was eating cleavers. I had cleaver stew, miner's lettuce, all of the berries, so many berries that I got really sick of making berry pancakes. And I was just eating whatever I found in the woods. I was bringing bags home. There's food
Yep.
right there.
It's great.
There was
Great.
a bear
Good for
one
you.
time, though. I didn't like it when I met the bear.
No, I wouldn't have.
It was just drinking some water and it just stared at me and I was like, we just stared at each other for a while and I just like walked backwards out of the trail. And I was like, well, that was a bad foraging day. I got nothing, but I saw a bear.
Oh, I had a dream last night that I had a dream last night that Britney Spears,
Love her.
I won a contest and I got to go to Britney Spears' new house with her husband. And she had like a 12-year-old chubby son who was really nice and funny. And we hung out and we had a great time. And she was just like a normal person. She's like, "I just want to be a normal person." I was like, "Yeah." And her house was really messy, but she refused to pay for a house cleaner. Okay, I'm getting to the point though, because when we were done hanging out, she was super excited to come visit me because she really wanted to go foraging for chanterelles.
Oh my god.
And so I found a way to get Britney Spears over to Aberdeen so we could go foraging for chanterelles, and we had a great time.
That's awesome.
That was my dream last night. I was trying to remember my dream all day. I'm so glad it came back.
You should pick an edible mushrooms with Britney Spears. I would love
Yeah,
that.
Britney Spears. Yeah, she's great. It was super fun.
I feel like you should be allowed to contact her and let her know. I'm sure you can.
I mean, she's on Instagram all the time. I could at least message her and see if somehow she sees it.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't even read it. I'm sure she gets like all
Millions
of the
a
messages
day.
all the time. But if the subject line was, "In my dream, we picked edible mushrooms together, and that was really cool," she might be like, "What?"
I wonder if I should write an article, like a short story, foraging with Britney Spears. I wonder if it would just get around to her and she might read it someday.
It might. That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Just turn your dream into like a story, essentially.
Yeah.
Put it on Medium.
Short story. Yeah.
It might get a bunch of clicks just because Britney Spears. And you're like, oh, that's kind of a silly concept. And then you'll get 25 cents at the end of the month.
There you go.
Them big
Sweet.
old Medium payouts.
Yep.
I still get a
Rolling.
few cents here and there. I haven't published on there in like 2 years, like since I started doing the podcast. Because I figured people are more likely to listen to something than to read something. But since my folklore articles are still up on there, people do click on them, and so I get a random 10 cents a month here and there, between like 6 cents and one month it was a whole 48 cents. And
It's amazing.
after like a year of not cashing it out, I was able to get like $10. $10. It was
Perfect.
nice. Passive.
Amazing.
That's
Passive income. Yep.
That's a 6-pack or 2 gallons of gas.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It'll just make your day a little better.
Yep.
I swear that people come upon my folklore articles when they're doing research for their own stuff, for like other people who do podcasts or make TikToks or whatever about folklore, because I swear often if they're talking about something that I have written and published about, they will straight up use like a like verbatim same sentence that I wrote down. And I'm like, oh, did they read my article? Because that's exactly how I described that. And it's really exciting for me when that happens.
The most flattering plagiarism.
Right?
Yes.
I do make a point to not be redundant and to put different bits of info in my articles or my podcasts that doesn't come up from a simple Google search of the subject. I try to make sure that I have a unique something at least to add to it that other people haven't. So if they find one of those that I put in there and they repeat it, then I'm like, I deserve some credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Respond to my
sources.
messages.
Yes.
Ooh. Speaking of other people's spooky podcasts and stuff that I listen to, I've been meaning to put you onto one. And all of my listeners, if you listen to me, you'd like these guys too. It's called That's Why We Drink. And it's 2 people, and they're hilarious. And I think they came up with that name because they talk about spooky stuff, supernatural stuff for 1 hour, and then the other one does a true crime. So it's a 2-hour podcast. One of them presents theirs at the beginning, and then the other. And it's like, yeah, that's horrible. That I need a drink after that, and it's really brilliant. But neither of them actually drink alcohol, I don't think. At least one of them doesn't. So they're like, what are you drinking tonight? Milkshake? I've got tea. Why do you drink? And they're
That's
hilarious.
awesome. I would like that. That sounds great.
They're hilarious, but yeah, I keep thinking almost every time we talk, or every time I listen to them, this is my favorite Take a Long Bath podcast, and I'm like, oh, Holly would love this, or they talk about stuff that you and I have recently talked about. I'm like, oh my god, this is synchronicity type thing. So I have that's my podcast recommendation for the day. That's Why We Drink.
I will definitely be listening to that because the podcast that I listen to, I've got 2 that I'm regularly listening to right now. One of them is, of course, I can't think of what it's called right now. Oh, it's called This Is Actually Happening.
Okay.
And it's somebody recounting what happened to them. And it's always something horrible.
Oh, so it's just people telling their traumatic stories?
Yeah, the story of what happened to them. Like recently, there was somebody who got mauled by a bear, and so he was recanting that story. And he had like the whole memory of like the bear had his head in the bear's mouth, and he was like holding onto it, and then he had to like walk back. Like he grabbed the bear's nuts and like had him screaming, and finally the bear ran off, and so he came back and he like gathered up the pieces of his face and he put them on top of his head and he tied his shirt so he didn't lose the pieces of his face, and he like out of the woods.
Oh my lord!
So it's stories like that.
Wow.
So when you said the bear earlier, I was thinking of that. Stories like that. Stories of like people getting shot randomly. Somebody who does car repossession, and he ended up having like a really bad experience with one where somebody like hit him in the head. He ended up in the hospital. And there's stories of like religious trauma, stories of people who have just everything you can imagine. Ghost stories too, just like everything. But I'm all caught up is the point.
Yes.
And so it's about an hour long, and I'll listen to like half of it on my way to work, and then the other half on the way back. I found it when I was delivery driving a few years ago, and I listened to it for my deliveries, and I'm definitely in the market for a new accountability.
Very nice. Your audio's cutting out again a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what to do. Is that any better when I adjusted?
I don't know. I think it's
Okay.
about the same. I don't know.
Ah.
It was just going in and out while you talked, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, I can't hear.
Oh, boo. I wonder if they're dying.
Maybe. We have been talking for about an hour. How long do they last?
I'm not sure. I
I,
have to check mine.
my headset starts dying after. Well, that's not true. No, those have like. Okay, never mind. My headset dies eventually if I don't plug it in. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a really obvious thing to say.
Yeah.
Super helpful. Good job.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah, I listened to that one and then Morbid. And they're mostly true crime. It's two chicks. They're also adorable and hilarious. But they also do supernatural stuff sometimes. So it's exciting when it's like nasty, horrible, like 3-part true crime deep dive into some disgusting, horrible piece of shit human being. And then the next one, it's like, that last one really sucked. Let's talk about a cool ghost this time. And I'm like, ooh, a cool ghost.
That's perfect.
And what my favorite thing about them and That's Why We Drink is because they talk about really kind of heavy, nasty shit sometimes. Because the true crime aspect, you have to hear about bad people doing bad things. But they're funny enough to where it doesn't hurt my feelings to hear that
Yeah.
happened. And then they'll just like come right out and say it when they're describing something. They'll be like, wow, this guy's a piece of shit, ain't he? And they're like, yeah, he is. No, that's not even the worst of it. He's a real son of a bitch. Hear this. And so that they don't glorify bad people like a lot of other true crime people do when they talk about them. And they're like, actually make a point to focus on the victims instead of like making the bad guy the hero of the story or the protagonist or the main character. They try to actually honor the people who were hurt by these garbage people. And that's actually the main issue that I take with a lot of true crime podcasts and true crime shows. Is because they're like, yeah, I know that they are saying that this person did bad things and it's bad that they did that, but they're also kind of, wow, isn't it fascinating what a piece of shit he was? Wow. And then they just kind of gloss over the lives that were lost. And they make it about numbers. Like things that I've seen about John Wayne Gacy and stuff. They're like, he had 36 bodies under his house. That's more than most serial killers. Making about numbers, and it's like, but who were these kids? They were young boys. Like, has anyone asked if their families are okay? No?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like that should be worth focusing on a little bit more than that, and then his numbers that he pulled,
Yeah.
Ew.
I completely agree. And I think that's a big issue with, I don't want to say white people, but, like America and Canada and a lot of Europe. And it makes me think a lot about, you could totally use that exact same sentence. Oh, there were 36 indigenous people buried underneath this church in northern Canada or in Massachusetts, United States.
Yep.
And it's like, but who are these indigenous people?
Right?
Who were these 36 people under Gacy's house?
Yeah.
So I think that something in the media, especially, that really, I hope, will change. And even if it doesn't, I feel like as a mass population, we're getting a little bit more aware of what's appropriate and what's not with stories like this.
Yeah. It's,
Like,
especially with the native graves, like, those are kids, mostly, who were taken from their families by force and forcibly converted to Christianity and then like promised a better life with the rich white people, but then were actually horribly abused, and the evidence of it was hidden in the churchyard to protect
Yeah.
the bastard pastor or whatever. Bastard
Yeah.
pastor, I like that.
Okay, that sounds great, Bastard Pastor. And what also sounds great is that video I sent you um, that I made where I was talking about getting accosted by a Christian at the laundromat.
Yeah.
Bastard Pastor accosted by a Christian.
Yep.
This has got a ring to it. And also, it just shook me because this guy who was accosting me for being a tarot reader, I told him, I said, I'm Native American. I'm not Christian. And he said, oh, Marina, you're a Christian. All excited. And I was thinking, unfortunately. I said, not by choice. Their ancestors were forced.
We weren't allowed.
I couldn't believe what this guy was saying to me.
Yeah. We weren't allowed to have our own spiritual beliefs. If we even wore, like, a regalia or anything, we'd be killed over it. We weren't what was it? It was in like the 70s finally that Native Americans were legally allowed to practice their cultural beliefs. Otherwise, it would be Christian or die. Story of the world. Thanks, Britain and France and Spain, you jerks. I was thinking about that too. Honestly, a lot of people from Scandinavia and people whose ancestors are from Scandinavia, they're almost all Lutheran. The Lutheran denomination of Christian, because that's basically what all of the people from like mainland Europe went up there, and it was mostly Lutherans, and that was their mass conversion of all the pagans, and the indigenous people of Scandinavia ended up Lutheran because that's what won in the genocide there. A lot of Native Americans are now Catholic because that was the big one that did that to us here. And it's interesting to think about. And like Scandinavians, they're white, so it just doesn't matter what you are. If you're not Christian,
it doesn't.
it's just
it doesn't
not
matter.
good. You can't be non-Christian. It ain't right.
Yeah. I mean, I've got people knocking on my front door trying to convert me to, all different kinds of religions. It's basically whichever religion can get its hands on you, regardless of who you are.
Yeah, pretty much. The shit I have gotten for my satanic, apparently, tattoos. Well, I mean, this one, yeah, I can see that. That's a pentacle on my left palm. But that just means I'm a werewolf, It was like, the symbols on my face were just, those are alchemy symbols. That's actually it was illegal to practice alchemy back in the day in like Greece because God didn't like it. And so they had to keep it a secret that they were doing science. So in their notebooks, they made up a bunch of random symbols to use instead of writing it down in their own language, so that if someone came and looked through their stuff, they wouldn't be like, oh my god, you're doing science, and they'd be killed. So that's why the alchemy symbols even exist. Technically, God don't like it, you're right, but that's like, these symbols exist because your religion is an asshole. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist to be on my face to begin with,
I see your tattoos. I just think of Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, Jupiter.
Yeah, Jupiter. Exactly. That was the first time I saw that symbol.
Nice. All right. How long have we been talking?
I'm not sure.
Like an hour 15, I think. An hour and 9 minutes. I think I might let you go. Do you have any last words?
I don't. I wish that I would have come a little more prepared with some more fun topics. But maybe I'll write some stuff down and we can get a little more in depth about stuff for next time.
I'm into it, yeah. I was thinking about that too. I was like, if we talked about like a few interesting things. I could just write it on a sticky note, and then if we ever had a minute where we were like, yeah, then I could just be like, oh,
Yeah.
here's another topic I wanted to talk about, and that would be helpful next time. Currently, I'm working on an episode about organ transplants and whether or not that's related to ghosts or if it's all science when people have weird personality changes after a transplant, whether it's like someone's spirit attached. And the scientific research papers that I am coming upon are so stuffy and difficult to get through, so it's taking longer than expected. Tons of articles about the ghost aspect of it. Those are easily read and decent written, but the science is hard to get through. Especially since I have, like, no medical background. I don't know what these words are. Come on.
I wanted to commend you on your ability to digest that information and then relay it to us well. I listened to your last podcast. Well, I listen to your podcast when they come out anyway, because it's also a great podcast that I love to listen to in my car. Yes, I love it. And the last one, you were talking about, I can't remember what it was about now, because something goes into my brain and then it just leaves.
Yeah.
But I remember you specifically saying, that was boring, and you probably didn't understand that, or something along those lines. And I yelled in my car, I said, actually, you made it really fun.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
The last one was about how easily it is to go insane in isolation, and how cold affects our bodies in weird ways. It makes us go crazy. And there was so much stuff. That was really stuffy research for sure. There was I watched a bunch of lectures by some guy who talked real slow, talking about cold shock syndrome and shit like that. And I was like, all of this is interesting, but I just need to find the few key relevant points. I even got into genetics. I had a bunch of gene sequences written down, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to relate this effectively in podcast form. That is cool though. I go way overboard with the research. I
love it. You do a great job at making it easy to listen to, for sure.
Aye, good. Thank you. I try. Especially since now I've got the ability to do videos. I can actually put in a little bit of extra effort and try to pull up images of some of the stuff I talk about. I know in the one about deviant burials, there were a lot of weird-looking skeletons, and hopefully I described what they looked like, but there were photos and stuff, and I was like, I really wish that I could show people this giant boulder and how this guy is wrapped around it. Because you don't get the full effect just hearing that, as you do when you see it. Or all the skulls that were found with stones shoved in their mouths. It's a whole different experience actually looking at that. And now I can actually figure out a way to pop up pictures now and then for stuff like that. So I'm excited about the YouTube.
Absolutely.
Alright. Anyway.
Well, shit. Thank you so much for having me on, and I hope I haven't bored anybody to death.
I doubt it. You're a delight. Let me think. Oh yeah, so follow Holly on all of the things and book a tarot reading if you're into that sort of thing. Her shit is Morning Orange Tarot. She's got a TikTok and a website. Plug yourself.
Oh yeah. I have a TikTok. A website is morningorangetarot.glossgenius.com, and Instagram, and you can just find me on there. Just search Morning Orange Tarot and follow me if you want to. I do online readings through Zoom or Facebook Messenger, or if you have an iPhone, we can do FaceTime. So either way, and if you want to talk spooky stuff.
Yeah. I'll probably have you back again. Who knows if we'll actually manage to do the calls on the days and times that we plan to. But we'll figure it out. We'll get another. And I'll plug her socials and stuff in the description of the video and in the description of the podcast. So you don't have to try to memorize it or write it down. You can just click on it. Okay. I think that's it. Later, nerds.